Come on in to Margaret McSweeney's Kitchen for Kitchen Chat, where every week you'll meet chefs, cookbook authors, foodies, gourmets, and just plain people who love to eat. And along with laughter, chat, recipes, and stories about food, you'll sometimes also hear words of inspiration, love, and hope. As Margaret always says, Kitchen Chat is food for the senses and food for the soul. So grab a cup of coffee, put your feet up on a comfy chair, and get ready to spend a little time with Margaret and her friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is your host, Margaret McSweeney on webtalkradio.net, and I am just so delighted that you have stopped by my kitchen today. We are going to have such a fun show. We're going to have two segments, and the focus for the show is really kind of healthy eating and looking at all the different options and opportunities out there. And our first guest, you're going to be just delighted by her, Amy Valpone. She is, quite a resume here. She has a great website, thehealthyapple.com, and I'll make sure I provide a link to that. And her mission is feeding people food the way food was meant to be. So I can't wait to hear more about that. And she's also the publisher and marketing director for the online magazine EasyEats.com. It's a gluten-free magazine. So we're going to be talking a lot about just what makes a clean lifestyle in terms of healthy eating, and also talking about, what those of us out there with allergies, food allergies, options we have in terms of recipes. So without further ado, Amy Valpone, welcome to Kitchen Chat.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I know that I very much abbreviated your long resume. You've had quite the journey within the culinary and marketing and business world, and you are a food writer and a chef. And what are some of the magazines you've provided articles for?
Oh, geez, I've done a little bit of everything. I write for, the Williams-Sonoma website. I, contribute to WebMD. I've done work with a bunch of different websites, a bunch of different bloggers. And I work right now with Easy Eats magazine, which is our gluten-free online magazine, which has just been getting great reviews.
Yes, and I can't wait for us to talk about that, because there are a lot of listeners out there with friends or family members who are need a gluten-free diet. So I look forward to hearing your tips and insights on that. But first, I wanted the listeners to get a feel for your ordeal in terms of what you have gone through to get through this point, because it's very personal to you too in terms of this journey for a clean lifestyle.
Definitely. I agree. And it's been a struggle my whole life, dealing with stomach problems and medical issues, no one knowing what's going on, even venturing out to Mayo Clinic to tell me that there's nothing wrong with me after giving me bone marrow biopsies and telling me I could have leukemia, when none of that was ever true. And then really just trying to heal myself, going back to school and learning about how to heal my body and switching to Eastern medicine and really, feeling good every day.
Oh, I'm so glad that you have found the right path in terms of finding health, because it was very debilitating, and it's hard to think that food can be a source of illness rather than, a source of health. And so you've discovered through your own journey, your own trying journey, how to really approach a clean lifestyle. And I love your mission of feeding people food the way food was meant to be. What do you mean by that? And what do you want listeners to walk away with in terms of how you can enjoy food the way it was meant to be? Does that mean you have to eat it raw, or what does that kind of mean?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, it is all about feeling good and no dieting, no depriving yourself, and eating anything that you want. For instance, I work with clients here in Manhattan and put together, I do food shopping for them, go to the markets and bring back food to their pantries, stock their fridge, do a pantry makeover, toss out all the bad foods and I should say added sugars and packaged processed foods and really get their taste buds on an overhaul and work with them and their kids. And it's been amazing. I mean, everything from fresh basil to cilantro to lemon zest and grapefruit juice. And I mean, there's just so much that you can do to add natural flavor, even adding, ground cashews to your, chocolate chip cookie recipes. And so, for instance, a great recipe that I love working on with kids is very simple. It's poaching chicken. Poach some chicken on your stove, put it into your food processor, add a little balsamic vinegar, a little sea salt, you could do some fresh basil and strawberries and mix it together and you've got a great pate that you can just store right in your fridge for the week. And you put that on crackers, you could put it on toast or, put it on a salad. You could put it into a sandwich and you can even eat it with crudité. So it's just they're trying to come up with great options for families to eat clean and find new uses for all of these amazing foods out there that have such great flavor. But, everybody's dousing them with oils and butters and everything else. And I actually myself can't have any oils. So my life has been very, very tough to go out to eat and to find flavor. So, trying to make cookies out of avocados or, coming up with other unique ways to make different meals.
Now, how does one make cookies with avocados? How do you do that?
Oh, you got to get it nice and ripe, keep them in a brown bag until they're so mushy, and then simply just taking them, putting them in a food processor. I like to put them in a food processor, maybe add some juice, some kind of like freshly squeezed grapefruit juice, something like that, and then adding some kind of fruit. So usually I'll add maybe it's some peaches or a banana and getting that really creamy consistency. Also some Greek yogurt is great. Then you can even almost make your own ice cream that way too. I'm intolerant to dairy and a lot of my clients are as well. And I can have Greek yogurt. A lot of people that are lactose intolerant can handle Greek yogurt because of the way it's strained. So that's the only dairy that I can have. So let me tell you, I do get my Greek yogurt every day and I love it. But it's a great alternative for an ice cream for people. So, take your Greek yogurt, put it in your food processor with, some dark chocolate chips and a banana. Make that, process it nice, maybe put a little more fruit in there, a little fruit juice or some, fresh herbs, and then toss that in your freezer and you've got a nice little frozen yogurt for yourself.
That is a great idea and easy to do for busy families, and it's an example of a clean lifestyle. Now, what do you absolutely need in your pantry, in your refrigerator, to begin a journey of a clean lifestyle?
Well, it's so funny you ask because I have a what's in my fridge page on my website and, a shopping list page because everyone asks me everywhere I go, you have to think about what it is that makes you feel good. There's people that are vegans, there's people that are vegetarians, there's people that eat meat, there's people that eat, are flexitarians. It's all about what makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. So if eating, eggs for breakfast and then vegetables and grains the rest of the day makes you feel good, that's wonderful. And you really have to think, okay, let's lay down my day. I need vegetables, I need fruits, which is fiber, obviously. You need some whole grains, you need some protein, and you need some healthy fats. So how are we going to get all that? Let's start with protein. Let's map that out. You have eggs, chicken, turkey, Greek yogurt, and then you've got things like chia seeds and flax seeds. There's a great company out there called Barleans that's wonderful. They have this flax meal, 40 flax, that is incredible. I think I have 4 tablespoons of it a day and everything from, smoothies.
And I'm sorry, it's called Barleans?
Yes, Barleans, Barleans. And they actually make the most amazing products. They have these omega-3 oils that I love too, and they're all flavored. So they come in, they're called their swirls. They have strawberry and banana, and they're great for kids. I just did a presentation last week at the New York City Kids Food Festival and took those oils and talked to the kids about putting that in their oatmeal and in their smoothies, and the kids loved it because it creates flavor and sweetness without added sugar.
And you're not able to tolerate oils, but by making an oil like this, you're able to tolerate that with the strawberry oil.
Exactly, and they have They even have, I'm sure everyone's tried those green powders, the vegetables and things like that. They have tons of those kinds of things, and I love their chocolate. And what I do is make myself my own chocolate ice cream. So I take the Barlean's chocolate powder, it's like their greens powder, and I put Greek yogurt, and you mix it together, and it looks like chocolate ice cream, and you're set.
Oh, that does sound great. So it sounds like
coming up with ways to make yourself happy when everybody else is going to the drive-through and eating pizzas, and you can't.
Right, and it really is affecting your body in terms of having a clean lifestyle and making sure you choose those products. And I encourage everyone to go to thehealthyapple.com, Amy's website, so you can see what's in her fridge, and you provide the shopping list and all of that too. That is just great. And you know, it's interesting because I don't know if it's because the population has become more aware of it or if there's more of a prevalence, but there seem to be so many food allergies these days. Both, my oldest daughter is began her life very young with an allergy to eggs, and then later to oranges, but mainly to the peel, to orange peels, and to nuts. So I don't know if it's more environmental, or have you noticed an increase in intolerance for food?
I have just from my practice. I mean, a lot of my clients, I have clients that I work with that don't have any food allergies or intolerances. And then I have clients that are, I work with a family today, their kids can't have nuts, they can't have dairy, they can't have eggs, they can't have gluten, they can't have soy. So
what do you cook? What do you make for someone?
I do twice sweet potatoes. So you puree the sweet potatoes and put them back into the shells for the kids. Make rice pasta. You can make them a healthy mac and cheese with rice pasta. You can make them chilies. I make them baked chicken. I roast vegetables. Great oatmeal, some kind of like porridge for them. There's always polenta, and if you can do soy, there's tofu or tempeh, which is always great. But all vegetables and meats and eggs are naturally gluten-free and dairy-free. So that works out really well for a lot of people. But I do agree with you. A lot of we are seeing a lot more food allergies and intolerances because of all the processing and packaging that's going into these products, and it's just sad that you've got these big companies, touting these products that, are filled with things that we really should not, these names that we don't even know what they are. It's just take a look at some of the ingredients. And let me tell you, even though I went back to school and got my degree in nutrition, learned all about healing yourself. After I got, before I got sick, I still was like, Eastern medicine, healing yourself, yada, yada. I'll be fine. I can eat, I've always eaten clean. But I've always had, my vices. And then I said, I got so sick. I was in so much pain. I was like, I've got to give this a shot. And I cut out so much more. And it's sad, but hopefully someday, my stomach will, be healing and I'll be able to do it, all the time. But it's amazing what food can do and how it can heal. And, I'm pure proof that it was, in the pudding that I thought it was, just games and all stories. But it's true.
And I love that. The proof was in the pudding or the oatmeal.
It's true. The dairy-free pudding.
Exactly. Oh, well, I just love your website, and I encourage the listeners to check it out, thehealthyapple.com, your guide to clean eating. And it featured chocolate chip chili cookies. Now, that's a combination I wouldn't consider, to put chili and chocolate chip.
I do. I add, what I always add to my chocolate chip cookie recipes? I always add a little chili powder and cinnamon because I love the sweet and sour. And then going back, I always add the FortiFlax, the flax seeds, the Barlean's brand, because it's great fiber. So you put that in, you add a little of the Barlean's FortiFlax, you add the cashews, a little cinnamon and chili powder, and it just gives it the perfect touch. And you've got, tons of fiber and protein in there, and nobody even knows.
Wow. That is
fun.
That is fun. And you have such practical advice, too. I'm on your website now, and it's like how to clean your pantry in 3 easy steps. This is great. And you give...
I try to, provide a lot of my clients say to me, I need help with this or I need help with that. So I'm always trying to help everybody out and figure out a way to, streamline all our lives. I worked in corporate America for years, so I know it. Everybody is time crunched and wants everything in an instant. And that's why I love helping people and working here in Manhattan because, I'm always going to people's kitchens and, whether it's working with them weekly or on a one-on-one basis, or I love it. It's fun. I'm helping people, and it's amazing when you hear, oh my gosh, I would have never thought of that, or great, my kids are listening to you. They don't listen to me or the nanny or, anybody else, but you make it fun. So it's good to hear what's helping people, right?
Exactly. Well, I just love how you're a culinary nutritionist as well as clean lifestyle nutritionist and an expert on gluten-free eating. And it's interesting because I was reading that you're a former culinary nutritionist for the NBA program.
Yes, I worked full-time for the NBA. I was marketing and events there, and I was their culinary nutritionist for their NBA Fit program. So I did a ton of work with them and all their different little leagues and the kids and worked one-on-one with presentations, and it was great.
Oh, so do you think for those people in sports, and I know a lot of adults and kids enjoy sports, is there a different type of diet, I guess, that you need specifically? Do you need more protein or what do you see in terms of being a nutritionist for the sports programs?
I would say it's very situation specific. After getting the right blood work done, and analyzing, making sure you're getting enough protein. But fiber is a huge issue that not enough of us are getting. So figuring out ways to get more fiber. So when you're and protein. So when you're traveling on an airplane, what do? Everyone reaches for the nearest Diet Coke and burger at the joint next door. Right. But really, all you need to do is carry along with you some chia seeds. Chia seeds are great. There's a bunch of different brands that make chia seeds. They're packed with protein.
And what was that? I didn't hear. What was the name of that again?
They're chia seeds. CHIA. Remember the chia pets back in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah.
Now, chia seeds are a great form of protein, so a lot of vegans and vegetarians use them. But anybody can use them. Put them into any meal. They're great in baked goods. I love adding some muffins and breads. But you use them, you bring them with you on the plane, and put them on your salads or in your yogurt or whatever it may be. And that's a great protein source that you can carry around with you without having to worry about it going bad. Because, sometimes I'll carry turkey with me or yogurt, it'll go bad. But if you just carry some chia seeds with you, that's some good protein to last you until you get where you need to go.
Yeah. I just have the vision of carrying around a little chia pet.
Yeah, I know. It's like the tiny little seeds. You can just put them in a Ziploc bag. But, the thing, too, when you travel, I always tell people, make about 10 bags of, or depending on how far or how long you're going and how far your trip is, make 5 or 10 bags of, Ziploc bags filled with oatmeal, just plain dry oats, and then add whatever you want, whether it's dark chocolate or nuts or seeds or a little bit of cinnamon or, whatever it may be, some of your chia seeds, some of that barley and flaxseed I was telling you. All you have to do, so you've got 10 bags for you, all you have to do on the airplane or in a hotel room or wherever you are is put it into a cup and add some hot water. And you can get hot water at any Starbucks, at any airport, on any airplane. So you've got, breakfast or a snack for you anytime. And if you don't use them when you're traveling, it's not like it's going to go bad. That oatmeal will last, another 6 months to a year in your pantry until you use it.
That's a great idea. I never thought about carrying around the oatmeal, Thank you. You are just providing some really practical advice that people can start to use in terms of pursuing a clean lifestyle. And they're not major overhauls. They're small steps here.
Exactly.
And the first step, it sounds like, is cleaning out that pantry as I look behind me in my kitchen.
I'll come over anytime. Yes. I will come over anytime as your pantry.
Oh, I would love that. And I know you're going to be in the Chicago area. Listeners, for those of you in Chicago, April 14th and 15th, Amy is going to be a featured speaker at the Gluten-Free, Allergy-Free Expo here in the Chicago area. So definitely try to attend that and hear Amy speak more in detail about these wonderful options for getting on a clean lifestyle. Now, what would you say are the must-haves for spices in the pantry? What do you feel spice-wise really promotes the clean, healthy lifestyle?
I would definitely, I mean, I'm a big chili powder and cinnamon fan, love it. But I think also what's really great, you have a lot of people use turmeric, which is great.
And
Um,
what exactly is that? I'm sorry, I'm not real familiar
yeah,
with that one.
it's yellow. I'm
Hmm.
sure you've seen it before. It's in like Golden's mustard. It's like a bright yellow color. So
Okay.
that's great to add to dishes. Curry powder I always think is amazing. And I always keep, like dried dill, dried cilantro. I think that's great. But cumin seeds are wonderful too. So I love cumin, and you can toast those, all of that. There's a bunch of different brands that have, organic spices that are wonderful.
Oh, and that's cumin seeds?
Yep, cumin
Oh.
seeds. I have the Turkish cumin seeds in my fridge right now that are
Oh.
great. But, any kind of cumin seeds go really well.
And you toast those?
You can toast them, yes, and then put them, get them nice and flavorful, and then you can put them, into chicken dishes or whatever you'd like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I
it's kind of
didn't.
exciting, right? Always coming up with something new.
And I think that's a lot to do with it. To really think out of the box, outside of the box, you need to
Hmm.
get outside of the box, as you have been saying, in terms of really, evaluate those packaged goods and that are in the pantry and think outside of the box to see, well, how could this be made more fresh? And
Exactly.
yes, you're just providing some great ideas. Now, I do want to speak a bit about Easy Eats magazine. That's your online, that you're a publisher and marketing um, executive director for. And I found that so fascinating too, and a great resource for those really looking to avoid gluten. It's a gluten-free magazine. Um, what specifically, I guess, do people really, what products or foods do consumers really need to be careful about in terms of being uh, something that has a lot of gluten, I guess?
Oh, definitely. So soy sauce is something huge that people don't realize, and marinades. A lot of time you go out to a restaurant, you get salad dressings and marinades. You get chicken in a marinade, or you get a salad dressing and it's got gluten in it. But soy sauce is huge, because that's, every sushi restaurant and a lot of marinades and dressings have soy sauce in them. So that's really tough. That can be really hidden. Also, when you go out to eat, if you're ordering a burger or a piece of fish or chicken or something and you're getting it off the grill, you're getting it grilled. The grill could have touched something that had gluten on it, like a bun or some kind of bread or some kind of dish. The utensil that they used could have been some kind of dish that had already touched something with gluten in it. So it can be really tough when you go out to eat. That's why it's very hard.
Hmm. And what exactly, in a nutshell, is gluten? How would you define what gluten is? Is it a chemical? I mean, what exactly is gluten?
So gluten is protein. It's found in, everything from wheat, barley, I mean, you name it, anything like that. Any kind of any kind of bread, any kind of baked goods, but then the hidden sources as well. Like it could be in some, if you check out your fridge, if you look into maybe like taco seasonings, it's in a lot of seasonings.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there's hidden words too that, you have to find out, is this gluten-free certified? A lot of times oatmeal too is very tricky because oats are gluten-free, or so they say oats are gluten-free, but the facilities that they are manufactured in have wheat in them. So a lot of oats are not gluten-free. So there are specific oats, like gluten-free oats, that people eat that have severe celiac because they react when they have just regular, a regular brand that just makes regular oatmeal, even though it's not gluten. They were made in a facility that had gluten, so they reacted.
Wow.
So it's interesting it's very interesting, isn't it? Some people are more sensitive than others.
Yeah, no, it's just fascinating. And what I really enjoyed for this month's or this week's Easy Eats magazine, it talked about coconut sugar
Mm-hmm.
as a great substitute for regular sugar to get the sweetener. Now, does sugar have gluten in it as well? Is that something you need? Certain products with sugar, do they have gluten?
Sugar itself does not have gluten in it, but a lot of, ice creams could have it.
Okay.
Cake mixes, frostings, sometimes even like mustard have it. You just really have to look. Always check the labels because you just never know.
Okay. And it's fascinating. It just seems like this coconut, all things coconut. I don't know if this is just a trend or what, but the coconut water seems to be growing in popularity as a rehydration sports drink, and also coconut milk and cooking, and now coconut sugar. I had not heard a lot about coconut sugar.
Yeah. And coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
Brand I was just talking about, Marlene's, makes a coconut oil. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I put it on my baked goods. I put it in my stir fries. I even put it. It's amazing as a skin lubricant. So it's like instead of body lotion, it will. Oh my God, it's incredible what it does. You should really, if there's anything to go and buy, it's that coconut oil. And the Marlene brand's great. I love them, but it's like a black label, black bottle, but it's unbelievable, and it's solid. It's a solid oil, so it's very interesting.
Interesting. Well, I know they have coconut oil for sun tanning, so you can eat the suntan lotion, I guess.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. That's hysterical.
So cook both in the home and in the sun.
Exactly. Try yourself.
Exactly. Oh, well, this has just been so enlightening about gluten-free eating, allergy-free eating, a clean lifestyle. I encourage you, listeners, to check out Amy's personal website, which is thehealthyapple.com, and then also easyeats.com, which is the gluten-free online magazine as well. And if you're in the Chicago area on April 14th and 15th, be sure and participate in the Gluten-Free, Allergen-Free Expo, where Amy's going to be a keynote speaker. And I'm sure we'll see you around on other things. You are always in the media and the radio and writing. So thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule today, Amy, to be a part of Kitchen Chat.
Oh, please. I'm delighted. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Oh, well, thank you. And any final words of wisdom for our listeners in terms of making a new start with a clean lifestyle?
I'd say don't focus on, deprivation. Don't focus on calories. Focus on what you're putting in your mouth. It's not about what time you eat or how many calories or this or that. It's about the quality of food. And I'm open to helping everybody out. So if there's anything I can ever do, I update my website twice a week with new recipes and content on Mondays and Fridays, and there's a contact form. You can contact me. I have clients here in Manhattan and all over the country that I work with through Skype video conference calls and, one-on-one. So I'm happy to work with anyone in any capacity. And I hope to see everybody in Chicago.
Oh, well, I am looking forward to meeting you. This is going to be so much fun. And meanwhile, everyone, check out Amy's website, thehealthyapple.com. And we all encourage everyone to think outside of the box. So that's actually getting outside of the box and putting some fresh ingredients into your life. Thank you again, Amy, for being on Kitchen Chat. And to continue our discussion on healthy living and healthy foods and gluten-free products, I am just so delighted to introduce you to our next guest here on Kitchen Chat on webtalkradio.net, and that is Jacqueline Reekie, who is the owner and I would say creative culinary behind the wonderful chocolate and granola products at Nutty Stuffs in Middlesex, Vermont. Oh, and it's just a wonderful place, and I can't wait for you to meet our next guest, Jacqueline. So, Jacqueline Reekie, welcome to Kitchen Chat.
Thank you, Margaret.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm definitely going to make sure our listeners have a link to your website, www.nuttystuffs, that's NUTTYSTEPHS, granola.com and to see the great products you have. But real quickly, let's talk about some of the gluten-free products you have and how those came about. It's a fascinating story. If you could share with the listeners about your gluten-free granola.
Well, we started making granola in 2003, and for 5 years, we sold this granola like hotcakes, and it was the only flavor, one granola, and people loved it. People bought it, and they converted, and they never ate another granola again after that, and they were loving it. But after about 2 or 3 years, I'd say in 2005 or 6, I started getting requests from people who said that they had an intolerance to gluten, and they said, I've heard your granola is so good, and I just want to try it, but I can't try it. And I didn't know much about gluten at the time, and so I said, well, what in my product are you allergic to? What has gluten in it? And they would say, well, the oats, you know. And I said, well, oats have gluten in them? And they said, well, no, they don't in the oat, but there's gluten sometimes that contamination in oats, because oats and wheat are often milled and trucked with the same equipment and trucks. So an oat that has passed through a mill or a truck that was also transporting or milling wheat will have trace amounts of glutinous content on the oat. And so normal oats and normal granola cannot be enjoyed by people with celiac disease or who have an extreme reaction to any trace amount of wheat gluten. So after 2 or 3 years of getting such increasingly adamant requests to do this, we did. We made a granola. It's exactly the same flavor still, the same Nutty Steph Vermont granola flavor and the same recipe, but the oats are sourced from a different source, and that's the only difference. And it's become a completely viable product immediately. Immediately upon releasing it, there were people paying the $2 or $3 more for those special oats and able to enjoy the granola just because we got this different source of oats. It's that severe, the reaction that folks can have to the trace amounts of gluten.
That is so fascinating. And I have to say, it's so great. Listeners, Jacqueline actually grew up in the area where I am broadcasting from and live, and that's in Barrington. And Deb, a big shout out to Deb, the owner of Ambrosia, a wonderful bakery in the Barrington area, carries Jacqueline's products, and she was saying that you have a huge following of granola lovers here in the Barrington area. And I want to get a little bit of insight in terms of what ingredients just so distinguish your product. I'd read something about maple syrup or sugar. Could you?
Sure. Well, the ingredients are really good. The only sweetener we use is maple syrup. So it's maple syrup and oats and sunflower oil. And then we have almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, and sunflower seeds. And most granolas, you don't find many nuts. They have nuts, but they skimp on the nuts because nuts are expensive. And most granolas you find are sweetened with honey or molasses or corn syrup or white sugar because maple syrup is the most expensive sweetener. But both maple syrup and nuts have nutrition that are really, really fortifying for the body. And maple syrup metabolizes more slowly than other sweeteners because it's less processed. And so for a child or an adult eating the maple granola, they're going to have that metabolize more slowly over 3 or 4 hours instead of getting the sugar spike and then getting hungry. So, and again, with the nuts are so protein-packed that people are satisfied for hours on a bowl of the maple nutty granola instead of getting that sugar spike that you get from cereals normally and then being hungry an hour later. So for people's just general satisfaction, they love it. But the taste of the maple syrup mixed with a little cinnamon, a little vanilla, and the crunch, because it's not cardboardy and it's not chewy. People just say, oh, whoa, it's the perfect crunch. Or they say, oh my gosh, it's not too sweet. And it's like a revelation, and they just don't ever eat any other granola again. And it's really great. But what I think more than anything that makes people have, I mean, it's really an extreme reaction. People will find our granola when they come visit Vermont. Let's say they live in Texas and they're visiting Vermont and they find it. They've ordered since they came to Vermont. Maybe it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, wherever they live, Texas or Arkansas or Florida or California, I'll see them order the granola over and over again. And what, online, and you can get cereal and granola in any town in America, but they are going online and buying their granola. And I think that the ingredient that, and this is going to sound a little hokey, but the ingredient that I think really makes it more nutritious than what you can get at a store is the fact that it's made by people.
Yeah.
And it's not made by a machine. And we really don't stop to think about that, but people have a lot of agency. And if they're handling food that you're going to eat, and they're handling it with a team of people, and they're laughing and they're having fun and they're loving the food and what they're doing, you're going to get a different feeling in your body when you eat it.
Yes, it kind of reminds me of that movie. What is it, like Water, like Chocolate, or is that right?
Oh, one of my oldest favorite movies. Absolutely, like Water for Chocolate. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And, there is that human and emotional element in something that is handmade. So it really is closer to everything, and it, it is not processed. So I think the handmade factor is definitely one of the secret ingredients to your successful tasting granola. And also, do you think it's a fact that there you are right in Vermont in maple syrup land and just being right there at the source? How do you think that plays a role too?
It is. Well, it's a popular product for locals and tourists alike, maple syrup, and it's a popular sweetener, and most Vermonters have spent time in a sugar shack in the spring when the sap is flowing from the trees, and you load wood into a big burner and you boil the sap down to the syrup. It's a product, a sweetener that people are actually physically connected to, that they've seen grow. They see the maple trees grow on the sides of the roads. They see the lines running from the trees down to somebody's sugar house. Oh. It's very different than sugars we're getting from the equator, because it's a sweetener that's in your backyard and people know about it. So yeah, there's a popularity about maple syrup for sure, but it's not just something, well, we're connected and it's local and it's popular and trendy. It is delicious, Margaret. Yeah. I mean, when you take oil and syrup and blend it together, and then you coat the oats with it and toast it, it makes it like this candied crunch that is just, it makes it a whole different texture and taste, and the way that it kind of melts into your mouth, and the taste is just unbeatable in that context by any other sweetener. So definitely the maple syrup is completely central.
Yes, and do you think, Jacqueline, that in the kitchen for home chefs, that maybe if they're baking something, and they could substitute sugar with maple syrup?
Maple syrup, always, yes. Okay. I mean, in a cup of coffee with a little cream and a little maple, it's like, you're instantly on a mountainside. It's just little maple to substitute for sugar anytime. And then, like I said, you get less of a sugar spike. For the kids or for whoever.
Yes, or even adults. I mean, it's so easy, even as an adult, to have a sugar crash there. So
it is. Yes. And you picture this big vat of maple sap that flows from the trees, and it slowly boils down to be the syrup. And so it's this slow processing process. And then in return, on the other side in your body, you have a slow release process. So if you just imagine the sugar's releasing more slowly in your body. It's just it's all around a superior sweetener, really, in my humble opinion.
Yes, and I am just so glad. I'm going to get some maple syrup and put that in my pantry and use that as a substitute. So thank you for that little tip for us and the listeners here. And some more questions. I mean, with the granola, are your products like in a granola bar, or are they like in a cereal box with granola?
It's a granola cereal. Like I said, we have one flavor of granola. We've been in business 8.5 years, and it's one single flavor with the 3 kinds of nuts and the maple syrup. And it's, people say this is the perfect granola. So we don't come up with any other flavors of granola because why would you improve on perfection, right? So we have the the grill, it's just a cereal, so you pour it in milk. You can have it with yogurt. You can sprinkle it over ice cream. You can eat it plain as a snack. So it's not a bar. It's like loose in a bag, like a cereal. But then we got sort of involved about 3 years ago in a chocolate factory, and we accidentally bought it. So then we went crazy, and we started to make 24 different kinds of chocolate bars and chocolate truffles and fruits and chocolate-covered granola, ultimately, which we called Magic Chunks.
Perfect. And this is a perfect segue because I cannot let the show leave without talking about chocolate. And it was so great because as, we're talking here, before I was able to sample my first bite of your chocolate, Jacqueline, and it is amazing. And there's a wonderful story behind it, and I can't wait for the listeners to hear about this too. But I am trying today the Nutty Stuffs Sea Salt Dark Chocolate, and it is amazing. And you can get Nutty Stuffs chocolate and granola, actually, in the Barrington area, Chicagoland at Ambrosia's in Barrington, but also you can order it online, and I'm sure you could provide another list of distributors and states. Do you have that available?
Well, Deb Rivera's Patisserie, Ambrosia, is worth going to from anywhere in the Chicagoland area.
Perfect, yes. No, exactly.
The
but for other
know
listeners,
Ambrosia.
Right,
it's
definitely
a patisserie
Ambrosia.
with the most delicious pastry anywhere. So, and she's been so wonderful and supportive to our business ever since its inception. So you can get the granola and chocolate there in Barrington. But then online is a good place to get it from anywhere else, unless you're in Vermont. Because we keep our distribution fairly local. It's very high demand by regular Vermonters. So that's where we focus our energy. But you can get it online.
That sounds great. So, yes, for those in the Chicagoland, go see Deb at Ambrosia Patisserie. It's just a delight, and you will love that.
But that sea salt bar, Margaret, sea salt bar it's nuts. I told you we have 24 varieties of chocolate bars, and the sea salt was the last one we came out with. When I came out with it a year ago, it started to surpass my sales of every other bar combined.
Wow.
The sea salt bar is the craze. It is the complete craze in America with chocolate right now. Everybody wants the sea salt bar.
And isn't that interesting? Because you usually wouldn't think of pairing sea salt with chocolate, but it is delicious. It really is.
Yeah.
And I definitely want our listeners to hear about the great story of where you source your chocolate. Because
do you have a bit, Margaret? Can you put a little square in your mouth right now and let it melt?
Sure.
And I'm going to instruct you, as I would instruct any of my customers that come into my shop, that this chocolate was made in Ecuador. It took us 3 years to find a source of chocolate that we were excited about because the cocoa trade usually has sources that you aren't able to know much about, and the conditions aren't always very good economically and socially. So we found a source in Ecuador that we are really thrilled about, where the farmers own their own land. And so then, again, it goes back to this handmade thing. These farmers own a piece of land they're given in exchange for preserving the forests that are on the land. They are walking around. They have their forest that their family can support themselves on. And instead of clear-cutting it to make a cocoa plantation, they're growing wild cocoa, the Ariba Nacional bean, an Ecuadorian, very rare bean, that is... Can you taste it? Can you, in your mouth, as it melts?
It has
the complexities
melted.
of that flavor,
they're
still going, right?
Speechless. I know. I had to, it just disappears. It literally melts in your mouth. And there is this incredible partnership between the sweetness of the chocolate. And it's truly, usually I don't like dark chocolate. I'll be very honest. Usually it's so bitter. But there is such a
Margaret,
unique
that's a really great point you bring up, that people think, the darker chocolate is the bitter. Bitterness in chocolate comes from poor processing and from rushing the processing process. And chocolate should not taste bitter, even if it's very dark. A nice chocolate that's properly conched, which conching is the last process where it kind of spins in a vat for ideally 2 days. But
and I'm sorry, could you explain that again? It's conch, and that's C-O-N-C-H.
Yes. And you can look that up in the chocolate making process. It's the last process that happens at the Ecuadorian factory before they cool the chocolate and ship it to us. And you spin it in a vat, and They do it for around 48 hours. They don't tell you exactly because that's a major secret of all chocolate factories is how much time they conch for. But a low-grade chocolate factory will conch very quickly at a higher temperature to be more efficient. And that's where you get the bitterness because the conching removes the acidity from chocolate. And if it's done in a proper temperature at a slow enough time, you don't have bitterness. You just have deep, rich, nuanced chocolate flavors.
Wow. And this
So that's why what you're tasting is just, it's very dark chocolate. It's healthful, nutritious, but it doesn't taste bitter. It's not hard to take. It's delicious.
It is, and with the sea salt, the type I'm tasting, just the blend between the sweet and the salty, it's just truly a treat for your taste buds. So, and Beth,
I'm so glad you like it.
Yes, this is great. I'm going to be visiting Ambrosia quite a bit to pick up the chocolates here from Deb.
So we went to Ecuador. I went to Ecuador and I met the farmers. Who there's 22 families of farmers that have a cooperative processing plant, and they're able to sell their beans because they're the best beans in the world at a good price and make a good living, and they're getting technical training about how to continuously grow better beans and economic training. And it's a super good program, but these people love their chocolate. They love their trees. They love what they're doing. They served me this glass of cocoa that they made with the raw beans right in front of me, and it wasn't just a show because they knew I was an American with money. They were passionate. They loved their chocolate. It was their livelihood, and it was what saved their forest from being clear cut because there was a lot of clear cutting that was happening in Colombia north of them. And they were warned about 20 years ago, hey, people want those woods that you're living off of.
Wow.
So you better figure out a way to keep them. And these people are able to save their territory.
Isn't that great?
It's wonderful. It's an African region of northwest Ecuador where all the slaves had been brought originally over to Ecuador from Africa. And these are people that have lived in these woods since the end of slavery in Ecuador. And they've just been living, with very little resources from the country, as often happened with populations that were ex-slaves in a country. And they were left to their own devices. And then when the logging started coming in the 90s, they had, basically no resources to work with and no way to continue their existence. And so this chocolate has made that possible for them, and they love it. And you taste their love when you eat it.
Yeah, you really did. There is you can't even put into words the taste. So I'm just so glad that you have introduced this wonderful product here to the States. And what exactly, you had mentioned bean before, it was a wild, what was that again? Wild?
Cacao, which is just the Spanish word for cocoa, and it's the name of the tree before it's processed. Where, processed cacao bean is cocoa. But even in Spanish-speaking countries, they say cocoa instead of cacao. So cacao is kind of like it can be just a snobbish way of saying cocoa. So it's really either way that a person wants to say cocoa or cacao, and people know what you mean.
Okay, and this is grown wild, and it's harvested by these wonderful families in Ecuador, and has given the land sustainability and a great product. So they actually then ship the chocolate to Vermont.
Right to me, and I'm the first the first importer in the U.S. of this chocolate. Yeah.
That is great. And so then you are like the culinary creator for the flavors and the different products. What is that process like?
Oh, well, I'm just a sugarhead, so I know what's good. And it's really fun. And I come up with ideas and we make it, and usually it's delicious and we keep it. But if it's not absolutely delicious and perfect, we don't bother with it, because I found that people are so in deep, dire need of food that is really authentically fabulous and good that they're going to pay us what we need them to pay for good product. And that's what I've always seen since 2003, ever since I started the granola. If you make something really, really good, really delicious, truly the best thing I can make,
yes,
I can't help but sell it. People just can't help but buy it from me, even if it's $2 more than the other thing or whatever it is. People are in desperate need for really nutritious, lovingly prepared food.
Yes, and that's handmade, and that is such a rarity in terms of the handmade. Now, do you also include maple syrup in the chocolate bars that you make, or is there a whole different process?
Well, one of our bars is called the Toffee Coffee Bar, and we make our toffee at the shop with maple sugar. When you take maple syrup and you boil it down a little more slowly, you get it to a sugar.
Oh.
And so it looks like a raw sugar. It's like a brown colored sugar crystal.
Mm-hmm.
But we take maple sugar and mix it with butter to make our toffee, and that's the only two ingredients in our toffee, which I've never seen before. Usually any toffee you have is going to have white sugar, corn syrup, other sweeteners like that. So it's a very exceptional toffee. I urge folks, if they're toffee heads, to try this. You've never had anything like it. And the Toffee Coffee Bar has shards of this toffee mixed in with ground espresso in the dark chocolate.
Oh, and that is very interesting. So a lot of caffeine there, right? Because
yeah, get ready to get jacked. Definitely.
Oh, that's great. And so
Jacqueline's gonna jack you. Jack it up.
Exactly. Now, what are some other favorite flavors that you seem to have created?
Well, like I said, the granola is foundational, and people love it. And the gluten-free granola now is available to folks, which they're loving. But what we started to do recently is make these peanut butter chocolate-covered granola, the Ecuadorian chocolate and the maple sweetened granola, and a little bit of peanut butter in there. And those are just selling like crazy. They're so popular. They're fluffy and chewy, and it's like candy, but if you look at all what's in it, it's really more like lunch. I mean, you got peanut butter, really nutritious dark chocolate, nuts, maple syrup, and oats. And so it's like you're eating candy, but it's basically what energy food was always really meant to be.
The ultimate protein bar or granola. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
This is fun. Now, are there any other
magic chunks?
Exactly, the magic chunk. That I'm definitely going to check out that. Any other interesting flavors you're working on and kind of experimenting with, and how do these ideas come to you?
The bacon chocolate bar in this chocolate community of American, fancy chocolate connoisseurs, bacon and chocolate has become the very, very chic thing also. So that's an interesting one.
Oh yeah, I haven't.
Oh yeah.
That is
so we get bacon from our neighbors here in Middlesex who grow pigs in their yard. They make they send them to get processed at a processing plant. We have bacon. We know where it came from. It's, the best bacon we can find, and then we cook it up fresh, and then we put it in the oven to get it a little extra dry, and then chop it into our own fresh bacon bits. And then we get the chocolate going, and we take the bacon bits right after we make them, put them into the bar. So that one's pretty decadent. But again, just going back to everything that we put in, knowing as best we can where it came from, is it the very best we can find anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
And does it combine perfectly with everything else that's in the product?
Wow.
Going just for the super quality. There's enough people that are making cheap food,
Exactly, in process, and this is handmade. It's
and that's fine, and that's necessary, maybe. But we're not having any trouble finding people, like I said, that want perfect foods all the time. It's like, why spend your money on anything else?
Right, when you can get it high quality, yes. We'll put the plug in there. But I am just Right, I'm just so intrigued because you really are, you're an entrepreneur and negotiating all these import, export, all of that. But then at the same time, you are the culinary creator of the flavors and the products. And there definitely is a creative chef within to kind of, I guess, I don't know if you kind of create the trends or you have a sense of, okay, where are some of the chocolate trends going and do we want to include that? How do you determine?
That's a great question. I know that I have that there's definitely a personal angle, because my granola baker wants so desperately to make more flavors of granola. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, please let me make more flavors of granola. I really want to, and I think that there's a market for it. I think that people want it. And I'm saying, no, I don't care if people want it. I don't care if you want it. I don't want it. So we're not doing any more flavors of granola. We have one, and it's perfect. Okay. But so in one sense, it's whatever I say goes. But I think ultimately, because it's so gratifying to provide somebody with something they really want. It's something that my father taught me, basically, because he's a businessman himself. And he would, people make jokes about salespeople and they're, schmucks or liars or whatever. And he would say, no, that's not the thing. A good salesperson isn't like a shyster. It's somebody who really, really knows how to find out what a person needs and fill that need, to sincerely fill the need of a person.
Right.
And so when I identify products that are selling well, I definitely get a very, very, deep-seated kind of excitement and motivation to produce that product more, make it more available, because it's like, oh, here's 3 things that I like, and we'll put it out on the counter. And one sells, at a rate of 10 to 1 to the other 2 things. That's what's so fun about having a store. It's so personal. Perfect product development forum. Because I did only wholesale for 5 years, but once we got the store, we can see what people want, and then to see something appeal to people in a really strong way, and have them buy it. It's like, oh yes, I have a purpose. There's a reason for doing what we're doing, and we don't have to go out and market. We do not use money. We don't waste money on print ads or much, advertising or marketing. We just put all the money into the ingredients, and when people start to buy a thing and they love it and I can provide it, then yes, that definitely drives,
it is literally,
where I go.
And Jacqueline, it's literally word of mouth because it melts in your mouth. And I will tell you, with this, and that's the best marketing. That is the best marketing you can have. Well, I have.
Well, and it's not marketing, because we have enough. We're bombarded with consumerism, and so we're just here. You want to come? We've got good stuff. You come buy it, but we're not going to bombard you, and you're not going to have to hear us.
And you have locations there it's Middlesex, Vermont, and where is Middlesex? Is that?
It's right near the capital city of Vermont, Montpelier.
Okay, great. Great.
About 5 miles north of Montpelier towards Burlington.
Great. So if you're putting a maple syrup visit on your itinerary sometime, definitely stop by in person at Nutty Steps.
With how warm it is right now, we're probably going to have sap falling from the trees right this week. It's so warm.
It's been, we had a little snow in Chicagoland today, but
that's
right. It's been a mild winter. Exactly. Well, I just feel like I have sampled, and I literally have sampled chocolate now from Ecuador and discovered a new taste, and I encourage the listeners to click on the link for www.nuttysteps.com to see all the wonderful products we discussed, and especially the gluten-free. I think that's a unique product as well, the gluten-free granola, and definitely check into that. And Jacqueline, it's just been a delight to visit
Absolutely,
with
Margaret.
you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for being.
I really appreciate your interest and your listening.
It's just been fascinating, and I am now going to keep maple syrup in my pantry for substituting sugar, and that sunflower oil you mentioned too, and definitely looking forward to that. And a quick question once again on the chocolate. It's easy, just so easy to open this bar and just consume it. But can you also, with your products, use them for any kind of fondue or baking, or is it specifically just for enjoying it, on your own?
Absolutely. We have we provide a bulk price on the Ecuadorian if we don't melt it and re-pour it and add salt or do anything to it, and we sell it to you right like how we got it from there. We have a really nice offering of a $10 block of the Ecuadorian chocolate that you can keep right on your counter. It's a little thicker, so you don't want to bite it, but you just slice it with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
You can just you grate it basically, and you can nibble on it. You can use it to melt down. You can use it to top your salads when you grate it into little bits, and it's just a food you can keep on hand and use. And it looks like baking chocolate, but it's not because it's sweetened. So it's like a chocolate bar, but it's a big hunk of it, and you can definitely use that to melt down. You can use it for brownies or cookies or whatever.
That is great to know. I never thought about grating chocolate. So, you've given me so many fun ideas to fill my kitchen with here on Kitchen Chat. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And please come back and visit with us on Kitchen Chat. And listeners, I'll make sure I provide a link to the wonderful resources that we've heard about today and in both segments, and the gluten-free and healthy living. And so I'm so glad that you took the time today, listeners, to tune in to Kitchen Chat here on webtalkradio.net. And please be in touch. Send me your favorite chocolate recipes and gluten-free recipes, and become a resource too. I really appreciate that, and stay in touch. And also, as you sit around your kitchen table, please take the time and savor the day.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in Margaret's books, A Mother's Heart Knows, Pearl Girls, Encountering Grit, Experiencing Grace, and Go Back and Be Happy, please just click on the covers on the webtalkradio.net page in front of you. Margaret would love to connect with you and hear from you, so join her on Twitter, Facebook, her blog, or click on this website to leave a note and share a recipe. Thank you again, and we'll see you here again for a new show next week.